p.2.
If you're wondering why I'm starting from an ink drawing, it's probably because you didn't watch the first part. Anyways, let's get started. We'll be using Crayola colored pencil crayons, along with a bonus sharpener that it comes with. Keep things simple. Now usually a 24 pack should suffice for all of the colors you'll need. Always make sure your pencil is sharp. This is key. I begin with the lightest shade of whichever color I'm using. In this case, I'm pressing lightly with orange. Because there's gonna be a whole lot of it, and you wanna get the big stuff out of the way first. Our goal is to cover as much of the white as we can. I'm talking about the paper. And to maintain a smooth gradient, try not to color with a dull pencil. Keep in mind that the sharper your pencil crayon is, the more sensitive it can be to making a dark mark. That's why it's best to start off by pressing as lightly as you can. Pressing a little bit harder in cornered areas, then gradually getting lighter as we make our way outwards. Notice that I rotate my pencil crayon just like with the mechanical pencil to utilize the sharpest side. And just like with the sketching, each layer should be noticeably darker than the one before it. Right now I'm applying more pressure in the areas that would in reality have shadows. Always start lightly. It's much easier to correct any mistakes this way. And try to avoid coloring over the outline too much. This can be noticeable with lighter colors. Black pencil crayons are used up a lot faster than any of the other colors that I use, so I'm using a paintbrush handle as a pencil extender to minimize hand cramps. Now it's time to go over our previously laid layer of colors with their corresponding darker tones. So let's take a reference from the internet, one that shows a differentiation in colors. Go on Google, search it up, and actually, the first image is perfect. You can see that Charizard is a bit brighter than Charmander, so we'll go with it. I like it when the first stage and the final stage are two completely different colors, contrasting colors. Makes things a little bit more interesting. What's nice about a kneadable eraser is that it doesn't leave little remnants that force you to smudge the piece. I often use this technique for highlights. What I'm basically doing is the same thing that I did with a lighter orange. I'm still not pressing very hard at all. All pencil crayons can have multiple shades depending on the amount of pressure that you use. The lighter colors are probably the most difficult to work with, in my opinion. Because the lighter that the color gets, and the closer it is to the white of the page, the harder it is to see how much you've actually colored. We're going to use the red pencil crayon to lightly draw in a defining line for the fire. Maybe a bit of red on this side too. Then we can just start to color it in. Now that we have everything colored in with a light base, it's time to go in with another layer of an even darker tone. So we've used the dark orange. The next closest shade that I have available is the brown. So I've already said this before, but the best way not to have that patchy finish is to gradually press lighter the further you move away from the outline. Like this. If you're having doubts on where shadows should go, remember, we drew them out in our sketch. So we'll use this as a reference. Now we're going to do the same thing with the turquoise using our teal. Now I know the teal color doesn't come in a 24 pack, but you can definitely use blue. Alright, we're ready for our final layer. This is where you can add more vibrance to the picture by going in with colors you've already used. I'm also pressing fairly dark at this point to really give it depth. We are trying to create the illusion of three-dimensionality by placing shadows where they ought to be. This goes for highlights too. Now before we go any further, if you haven't taken a break yet, I suggest you do so now, because my hand is on the verge of cramping, but I can't stop. Alright, so now we're gonna get on to the hatching. This is hatching. This is hatching from light to dark. This is cross hatching. Don't want any of that. So I start off with the smallest shadowy area, usually the inside of the character's mouth. We're testing the waters. Another good place to start would be the pupils, since they probably are going to be the darkest area in the entirety of this drawing. Maybe it's barely noticeable, but it makes all the difference. Crayola coloring pencils aren't very soft, so they can only be pushed to a certain extent of darkness. And this is probably why other people prefer the more expensive brands, such as Prismacolor. I'll go back into places that need more shadow, or areas that are lacking vibrancy, to color them accordingly. Before you start inking, check for that ink buildup. Now you're beginning to see how these lines can help bring out shadows. This is where you have to be really careful, because anything you do from this point on may be irreversible. Remember, start slowly. No one is timing you on this. I feel that once you've drawn the first couple of lines, the rest come with momentum. As we get closer and closer to a finished product, we start seeing more things that may need adjusting. For example, going over some of the outline where we've kind of colored over to give it a sharper, more contrasted finish. used to drawing straight lines only at certain angles, so I'll know to rotate the piece of paper if I don't feel comfortable. It's also a good technique to draw things in small portions, as opposed to imagining the entire illustration as a whole. This is why sometimes you see people blocking off hearts so that they're only concentrated on small areas at a time. It may seem more daunting if you worry about the big picture. Little by little, layer by layer, eventually we'll have something. Remember to often check the tip of the pen for ink bubbles. See those random mark makings that I have on that triangle platform I'm using under my hand? That's what the scribbles are from. Okay, here we go. Nope. At this point, I'm terrified of screwing up, so I take my time to practice exactly what I'll do. It's like golf. Practice your swing before actually hitting the ball. What's great about a pen that has a good ink flow is that it also has different weights of line, just like a pencil. So going from light to dark can help create the illusion of depth. Now grab your pencil. We're almost done. Lightly draw out the shape of the shadow underneath him. We'll be hatching within this. But before we actually begin, figure out an angle that might complement the way the character is facing. And of course, ink bubble. No good. And go. I'm only capable of drawing straight lines to certain degrees, so I had to flip it upside down because I really didn't trust myself. Mind your pen stroke. You're looking for a fading hatch. I guess I should have said this earlier, and that's why usually we start from corner spaces. The flickering you're seeing right now is just me drying the ink with a card. Now once it's dry, like completely dry, and you're not scared, you can go ahead and erase the pencil. There you have it. A lively little illustration created with the most basic art materials. I mean, mostly everything that was used in this tutorial are things that you can pick up at your local grocery store. I'd like to imagine. Inexpensive drawing tools and a bit of your time to be able to draw this guy. A good portion of your time. But if you just keep practicing, you'll see that it's totally worth it. At the end of the day, the experience becomes more valuable than the drawing itself. Thanks for watching. Peace. this is what it looks like when I'm trying to compose a picture for Instagram. Believe it or not, this little watermark is the same tag I've been using for a majority of them, so I don't have to make new ones. So maybe something like that. I usually try to include all of the colors that I've used in the piece in the picture, but I've become really picky as to what colors should be beside each other, and the time it takes for me to compose one of these pictures has progressively started getting longer and longer. Okay, so in this case, I think I have too many colors, so I'll take some away. So I'll take this one. I'll take him away too, just to lessen the colors. Maybe I'll have him going down like this. Then I guess I can throw in the Pokeball too. There. Oh no,